Is there a strategy that'll help you grow your company faster? CEO Sales Strategies is an investigative business podcast for entrepreneurial people who never stop asking questions. Highly acclaimed sales revenue growth expert Doug C. Brown interviews CEOs, business owners, and professionals who serve them to uncover and share actionable tips and methods behind their bulletproof sales strategies. Topics covered on the show include their failures, struggles, secrets, and processes that help them succeed in selling millions to billions of dollars of their products and services, all with the sole aim of helping you grow your business. If you are eager to know the most effective sales secrets from the A players of the game, then the CEO Sales Strategies podcast is certainly the place to be.
Hey, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies podcast, and I've got a great guest. His name is Mr. Josh Olson. He is the executive director of a company called AngelFlightWest.org. Now, Angel Flight West, they do exactly what they say in their name. They're angels, basically. They fly people and provide medical transportation to people, those who cannot afford it, in order to get to medical appointments and many times life-saving operations and things of that nature, all regarding helping people. Now, what does that got to do with business? Well, why are we in business? Make a profit. Of course. For what? Make money. Of course. For what? Really, when you drive the mission down, it's really to help someone win-win, right? That's you hear this at the end of every podcast I do. Play win-win. And the reality is, when you use mission-driven impact concepts in your for-profit business or nonprofit business, you will frankly sell more. You'll get more donors, you get more buyers, you get more volunteers, and you'll get more gratification, and you'll have a brand that people will remember, not just about your company or you, but they'll remember about the mission that you are helping or the mission that you've created. And Josh and I are going to talk pretty much in depth about how to do this. So without further ado, let's go talk to this man. He's super smart and super personal. I think you'll love him. Here we go. Ready? Josh, welcome to the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks, Doug. It's an honor to be here and talk to you live.
So we're going to talk about mission-driven companies because you have one. You're the executive director for, it's Angel Flight West, correct?
That's correct. Angel Flight West. And you can find us online at www.angelflightwest.org.
So what do you guys do? Just give context for people here.
Yeah, so we deliver health and hope to patients and families of patients that need access to healthcare that wouldn't otherwise be able to access it because of geographic, because of immune issues, because of cost. And we do so using volunteer pilots that donate their own aircraft and planes to fly people to and from treatment. And then we have some commercial airline partners that do the same thing with commercial flights. And then on the ground, we have some volunteer drivers that meet the airline and or volunteer pilot at the airport and drive them to healthcare treatment or lodging.
And this is all driven by volunteers.
That's right. Yeah, it really grew out of an idea in the early 80s from a group of volunteer pilots that said, we love to fly. Surely there's something better than flying, a couple hundred miles for a hamburger at a restaurant at an airport and flying back. Back then it was called the $100 hamburger, and now it's more like the $500 hamburger. And they had this thought that they could be kind of heroes in the sky and do kind of last minute transplant flights and so forth. And we do a little bit of transplants and organ and tissue and blood. But mostly what they found when they got into this space is that there's this massive need for transportation to healthcare. Now, sometimes that's across town, and that's pretty well documented within the healthcare community, especially as it relates to ER visits. But in this case, they realize there's all these people traveling from rural areas, from areas that don't have access to advanced healthcare to receive healthcare at these centers of excellence. And oftentimes they don't have reliable ways to get there. So they were canceling a lot of flights. It's really onerous on them physically and or their family to do these trips back and forth. And so when these hospitals learned of these volunteers offering their services, they quickly said, yeah, we can use you. And then it really just blossomed from there organically.
I'm curious, why would people donate their time, their flight time? I mean, pilots get pretty well paid, and all the other emergency services people that are donating their time. Why would they do such?
Great question. And I often ask the same question. So, our volunteers, for the most part, are not professional pilots. And even if they are professional pilots, they are flying because they love flying and they do it as a hobby as well. So, many of our volunteer pilots are entrepreneurs or business people that own their own aircraft and operate it. Others are aviation enthusiasts that love flying and they rent aircrafts, or they use all their discretionary income to go fly. And it's something that they want to do. Just like if you are a golf enthusiast or you love to read books or go to the movies, you spend your discretionary income to go and do those things. In our situation, they love to do it so much and they get to use, their aircraft, their time, their passion to help somebody else. Then it's one of those really rare cases where everyone wins, right? The volunteer gets to do what they love and feel like $1,000,000 afterwards. The patient gets to the healthcare access they need, and then our healthcare partners get to access patients that they wouldn't otherwise be able to have to improve their healthcare systems, improve outcomes, you name it. So it's a really neat situation, and it's unique too within the aviation space because the type of flying we do. Not to bore you with details, but the FAA considers it's called Part 91. So if you're a hobby pilot, you can't receive compensation for flying folks. Wow. The one exception they give is that for these volunteers donating their time, they can receive an in-kind tax contribution. So that's another little way they win. But most folks are volunteering, and you're right, it's incredibly expensive to fly these flights, but they're doing it simply because they love to fly and they love to help others.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where I wanted to get to, which I'm grateful you did, Josh. It's like, this is really more cause-driven marketing, if you will. Because, let's say I'm a young guy, I got my pilot's license, I have my own plane, I'm doing okay in life, right? And then I have a choice. Do I fly for, Angel Flight West, or do I fly, the cheerleader team to Cabo San Lucas or something, right?
Right.
I choose to fly on Angel Flight West because I'm helping other people. Not that I wouldn't be helping the cheerleaders, but as a young guy, I might be thinking, wow, this might be an opportunity to get a date or whatever, right? But here I have an opportunity to save a life. The cause is much greater than getting a date in most cases, right? With these people. So you have a cause-driven marketing campaign going on just through human nature, really, when it comes down to it. We all want to help one another for the most part.
Yeah, that's right. And I can't tell you how many times I hear our volunteers say, I feel like I'm getting way more out of this than I'm actually giving. And, giving thousands of dollars, giving hours out of their day. And for a lot of these folks, like you mentioned, kind of young, successful professionals, the time and money is significant. But they are choosing to do this because they have done the fun flights to, the vacation destinations.
Right.
They have flown the friend to show off or whatever in the plane. But in this case, unlike, a lot of charities that you can write a big check to, or, that you can serve on their board of directors, this is an opportunity to see your impact on a one-to-one basis, right? You're in a small cockpit with someone that if they've just had treatment, they're most likely falling asleep right away because they're exhausted from this ordeal of healthcare that they're trying to navigate. If they're on their way to treatment, they're probably chatty because they may have never flown in a small airplane before. They're a little nervous. They're going to receive treatment that they don't know, what kind of news they're going to get. And, you again get to do what you love, but then you actually get to hear and see the firsthand impact that you're having on someone's lives. And that's why they say that, is that they're like, wow, I just thought I was going to get up and do a 2-hour flight to keep sharp on my piloting skills. And all of a sudden I met this amazing person that's courageously battling this disease that no one should ever have to battle. And they were so grateful and saying thank you to me. And I wanted to say, no, thank you to you. Like, I understand that I'm blessed to be able to do what I do, to be healthy, to fly an airplane. And now I'm equally blessed to have that opportunity to serve you and walk alongside you. So it's neat relationships that get formed, and sometimes they're long lasting. We've got pilots that have flown patients dozens of times, and thankfully a lot of these patients have beaten their illness, but they still stay in touch and remain friends to this day, because you're going through a really critical time in your life. It's impactful for you emotionally, and then vice versa, right? Like, you're impacted by helping someone and do that. So that connection that's made is really special. And I think, to your point of cause driven marketing, like, there is no better marketing than experiential, right? Like, when you get to touch, taste, see, feel something, especially something that makes you feel so good emotionally, that's hard to replicate.
It's almost impossible to replicate. Josh, and I'm saying this from a personal perspective, because early on in my life, I was in the medical field and I came across an accident, and I literally had the chance to save someone's life.
Wow.
And to this day, I still think of this person, right? And it's like, it was so gratifying. Here I am, a fledgling medical school guy, driving along a dark road at night, and they jumped the barrier with their vehicle. 3 of them died. One of them was still alive. One of them had neck injuries. And I recognized that right away, and I was able to hold him down. They told me that he would have snapped his spine if I didn't do what I did. And he would have been at best paralyzed for the rest of his life, but likely would have died before the ambulance got there. And so the point being is, those feelings last with us forever, and they're extremely high value. That's what I take out of this whole process. So, folks, you might be sitting here going, you're the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. Why do we have Josh on this call? Listen up, write this one down. If you put mission-driven aspects into your business, people respond, and the higher the value perception that they have, the more that people will do. Now, if you think about your business model, Josh, you're not doing this on purpose. This is a 501c3 organization, and you're doing this for volunteer-driven organization throughout. But people are responding, and I think too many commercial companies, they don't think through this on what their high value proposition is to people, because people will go the extra mile for a lot of things. I mean, I just watched on YouTube last night the 30 best animal rescues ever, and they were all by volunteers, right? They find these animals that are stuck or going to die, or be in a bad way, and their own safety's in peril. They're digging out grizzly bears out of a cave, right? But why do we do these things as human beings? Because we do want to help people. It's high value to us. So your whole business is driven on that premise, is what I'm getting out of this conversation.
You experienced it, witnessing that accident, right? And it's our human nature to want to help others. And obviously we can all get sideways on that fact. But, you mentioned a couple things, and I see this in my for-profit counterparts quite a bit, is that people want to do something more than deliver on a bottom line. Yes, everyone wants to make money. Everyone wants to achieve, their financial goals for whatever their priorities are in life. But you see increasingly now for-profit companies changing their focus, just, not just from making a widget or providing a certain service or technology. It's, we have a greater responsibility, right? Like, look at Google trying to go zero carbon footprint in their entire company. They're doing that not because it's profitable for them.
Right.
It's because they know, one, the corporate responsibility of being the behemoth. People are looking to them and wanting that kind of leadership. But 2, they're doing it because their employees want it. It's corporate philanthropy. It's employee engagement. Obviously we're in a nonprofit, so our mission, the needs that are out there for nonprofits already provide that, right? People want to come to work because they want to make a difference. We have volunteers that come that want to make a difference. But the same applies to for-profit companies, is providing, one, your volunteers opportunities to volunteer at these nonprofits, or match their gifts to it, or, we have some of our volunteers, their companies match the time donated with a cash donation, which is incredibly impactful as well. But whatever the case is, providing that opportunity is really important. And for us, that's something that we engage with employees on. So Alaska Airlines is one of our big corporate sponsors, and they provide opportunities not only for their pilots to volunteer, but some of their daily employees as well, being one of these volunteer drivers, and or helping our patients in other ways, whether that be fundraisers or friend raisers or whatever the case may be. And the response to that is really tangible, right? Because it's like, okay, I work for Alaska Airlines. Aviation's important to me. Serving the community that Alaska serves, specifically Alaska, that's kind of woven into their fabric. So they've done a really good job with that. But then what they do on top of that is provide all these other opportunities for employees to get involved in their partner nonprofits and community projects that they do. So and then what ends up happening, right? And there's data to provide this that we won't slow down here with today, but your employee retention gets much better. Your brand loyalty gets much better with both your employees and your customers that know that you're doing this, and on and on and on. So it's an interesting aspect of how you deal, as a CEO, how you deal with your employees and how you can give them opportunities and benefits that isn't just bottom line stuff, right? Because that can be hard or it can be easy depending on where you're at in your business. But thinking outside of these boxes and providing these other benefits that aren't as tangible, but then gives back to the community that you're serving, and then makes your employees feel a lot better about how they're participating on a day-to-day 40-hour a week or 60-hour a week or whatever they're working.
We're speaking with Mr. Josh Olson. He's the executive director for a company called Angel Flight West. They're at angelflightwest.com. And for those of you who don't understand how to spell angel, no, I'm just kidding. I messed it up earlier, Josh.
That's okay. And it's angelflight.org. There isn't.
No .com. It's .org. See,
yeah.
I just messed it up. So now the joke's on me. That's awesome. So I think you're talking about something really cool. Retention and loyalty, which is all, employers want this. They're just like, especially with supposedly the great resignation that's gone on in recent, time here. Anything that's mission driven and that will give impact usually will breed loyalty and will breed retention. And we see this a lot. And I see founders forget this sometimes. In a startup atmosphere, we all go do all kinds of jobs and hats that we wear and go the extra mile and work extra hours and do whatever, because it's for the mission of growing the company. It's fun when we're in a startup atmosphere. And that is the high value proposition of a startup, really, from my perspective, when it comes down. So your volunteers must be having fun and having fulfillment in their life other than outside their normal realm of life. You alluded to this earlier, but do they report back to you, hey, this has been, obviously it's gratifying to help people, right? But do they report back ever and go, hey, this is fun. I do this because it's fun and I feel great about what I'm doing.
Yeah. So with all of our volunteers, we try to do a 360 feedback loop. So after every volunteer incident, we invite feedback in terms of how the process was for them, ways to improve. Obviously, safety is a big focus for us. So we always want to create this culture of self-reporting when it comes to safety. So we do get that feedback quite frequently from our volunteer pilots, also our patients. We try to do that as much as we can because we're a pretty small company. We're about 18 employees, so we're platform based, right? So we've got thousands of volunteers that we're organizing, thousands of people that need our services, and then we're this little engine in the middle that matches them all together. So we need to be in tune to what's going on because we're not in every hospital at every airport listening to what's going on. So we invite that feedback regularly, and we host some town hall meetings occasionally so that we can get that feedback and we can adjust and change our services as needed. But to your point, that is consistent from a volunteer. Again, using something that you love to do, that you're passionate about to help someone else. That recipe, regardless of what for-profit or nonprofit company you're serving, is a recipe for success, because built into that is something that we all long for, right? One, for someone to come in our time of need and help us, and two, really finding some worthy people that have been dealt a bad hand in life and be able to use your skills and abilities to help them. It is a recipe for success.
And so listen up, business owners. If you take a mission-driven mission and you're supporting that, you get to support that publicly. In other words, I have one of my clients right now, they're the second largest supporter of an organization called Kiva, which Kiva does microloaning to underdeveloped and underserved communities, right? And it's used as a marketing position as well, because they're doing a really great thing. So they should be rewarded. So anybody who's supporting, angelflightwest.org, not .com, they're able to say, I'm a supporter of your company, correct?
That's right. Yeah. And we have several for-profit partners. I mentioned Alaska Airlines, but we have a few others as well. The value proposition for a for-profit CEO company and a nonprofit, it is more tangible than just, I'm going to write you a check for $100,000 and I get to put, X amount of food on plate for a, homeless organization or a food bank, or an Angel Flight arrange X amount of flights for that dollar amount. Because what you mentioned is important. It's like, and what we talked about before, your customers and your employees want to know that the money that they're spending, the time that they're spending, is going to something greater than just making that particular CEO or their shareholders more wealthy, right? Like that's pretty well documented out there. And the value that we pitch to other companies is, yes, the cause itself is super meaningful, right? So if you're in healthcare, if you're in aviation, the stories of people from a remote community being transported for free to a particular surgery or treatment or clinical trial, and often saving their lives, and even if not, giving them hope that they wouldn't have otherwise had, is impactful, right? It's impactful for you, yourself, your employees, your customers. And then the same thing is, in terms of your marketing, right? So our social media partners, what we put on people's websites, those types of things, often gets way more clicks and engagement and so forth, because, people get excited about something that's a little different than what they've seen, right? So let's use Alaska Airlines as an example again. Low fares to Mexico. That's awesome. That's going to get lots of clicks, right? Because that's the service they're providing. But then when you hear about this social worker that has been working in remote Alaska to help others, then getting herself sick and not being able to get to Seattle where she needed her treatment, even on her own airline, where that's the only airline that serves her particular community. Were it not for Angel Flight, she would not have been able to get that transportation back and forth on Alaska Airlines. So if I'm sitting in an Alaska Airlines first class seat and I read this story in their magazine or on their social media, then I feel about like, wow, I could have flown Delta here. I'm sure glad I flew Alaska, because look at how they're giving these dollars back to the community to help others less fortunate than me. That, it sounds trivial, but it's meaningful, and it adds up, and the data proves that out.
Well, I got to prove what you're saying is right, because as we were talking, I did not know Alaska was one of your partners, right? And
yeah, they're our biggest corporate partner.
Yeah, so I'm in the process right now of taking another business credit card for the company, and I was looking at airline cards, and I saw Alaska because they offered a pretty good point thing, anyways, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
and I fly out west every once in a while. And it's not like Alaska's got all the routes that I would be looking for, but I was hemming and hawing. I think it was 2 days ago, actually, over the credit cards, and I was looking at them going, well, should I get a Delta card? Should I get a Alaska card? I've got a United card. I've got an American Airlines card, and I know they're kind of affiliated. And so I was like, I need another card for the company. It's like, but Alaska doesn't really go everywhere I want it to go because it's not. So then I was like, Spirit Airlines. I'm looking at all of them, but the fact that you just said they're supporting your organization, I wrote down literally, I don't know if I held this up on my paper, but I wrote down Alaska Airlines credit card, right? Because of what the story is here that we're talking about, I will likely go get an Alaskan Airlines credit card.
Yeah.
So somebody reading that and saying, wow, this mission is driven bigger than just my flight ticket, is now paying for something that could literally help someone more than I'm going to help whoever I'm going to see, or, the feeling that it's equal. That is extra value. The reason I'm bringing this up, Josh, is because you said the word pitch earlier, right? When you go pitch your partners, right? Value is what people buy, the perception of value. Now, to me, as a nonprofit organization, you have one of the most difficult pitches in the world because there's really no product, no service other than the feeling or the potential of the intangible feeling, or maybe some of the marketing that comes out of there, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And in a lot of ways, you're right. But in some ways, I would challenge your assumption, right? So a lot of people view nonprofits and for-profits as operating a little differently. And of course, from taxes and everything else, there is lots of differences. But in a lot of ways, there's a lot of similarities too. Except our product, like what you said, is really transportation for people needing to access healthcare. And in a for-profit world, that is incredibly lucrative, right? Like, go look at how much an air ambulance costs, and you'll see how quickly a family will get strapped for transportation to healthcare. Now, of course, our transportation is non-emergency, but still, the cost of that is significant. And if the people we were serving could pay for our services, it's incredibly compelling, right? Your life is in danger and you need to get from point A to point B. Of course, you're going to fork over the cash that you need to if you have it, right? So in that sense, like, our product is incredibly compelling, right? It's the thing that you need right now. But instead of a product that we're selling and exchanging money for, we're providing a service. And instead of them paying for it, it's so incredibly valuable that other people want to donate money to make that happen. And so we're not billing our customer directly. It's almost indirect billing, because there's so many people out there that feel so passionate about that they're willing to donate because they've been impacted. They've seen the impact that I have. They believe, in the nonprofit to carry out that particular need that they see in their society. So it's really just a slight shift. Instead of a business to consumer, it's not even business to business. It's right business to consumer with an intermediary acting as the payer in that situation. And in a sense, I would challenge nonprofit CEOs to think the same way. You still need to do the sales and marketing to generate that demand. You still need to make sure you've got the supply to deliver on the need that you're delivering. But ultimately, that supply and demand curve, you need to, try to manage so that it's intersecting perfectly to maximize that impact. And then obviously on the revenue side, you have to make sure you've got the donors and the partners and whatever that are going to be that intermediary to pay for those that couldn't otherwise access it.
So speaking of donors and partners, if somebody's sitting here going, you know what, this is pretty cool, I want to get a hold of Josh or the company or whatever, how do they do so?
You can access everything online, www.angelflightwest.org. We have every way you could possibly want to give, whether it be appreciated assets, through check, through a foundation, through a credit card. And unlike a lot of nonprofits, where a portion of your proceeds goes directly to the patient, ours is kind of a multiplier effect, right? Because we have so many flights donated in kind by our volunteers and our partners. For every $1 that's donated to Angel Flight, $5 to $8 is donated in kind. And there's, can you imagine going to a stockholder meeting and saying, yeah, you can do $1 for a stock, but you're going to get 5 to 7 back right away, right? Like, it sounds weird. And that's why we actually get questioned on our Charity Navigator and GuideStar results. It's like, how does 92 cents of every dollar go to the patients? Because the only thing we pay for is technology, space, and the staff it takes to carry that out. So it's compelling in that sense. But the most valuable thing anyone can do for Angel Flight, and I would say for any nonprofit for that matter, is volunteer. There is no price on your own time and energy. And that's why, I started this podcast talking about our volunteers, and I'll continue to shout it. Like, it's incredibly valuable. And yes, you need it all. You need finances, you need volunteers, you need a passionate and dedicated staff, and you need good leadership. You mentioned earlier kind of the startup founder part of an entrepreneur. When I stepped into the executive director role at Angel Flight, or the CEO role, Angel Flight was struggling, and I was kind of good at doing a lot of things and wearing all the different hats. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna, try to amp this up and really help the organization. And what you find out really quickly is, one, it's exhausting, and two, it's not a recipe for long-term sustainable success.
Right.
You have to develop a great team around you, cast a vision that everyone can follow for it to be ultimately successful. Otherwise, even if you're the most talented person in the room, which I am not even close, you're largely going to be spinning your wheels. And it took me a while to figure that out. Actually, one of my mentors is a former CEO of Alaska Airlines, who volunteers his time to mentor, really taught me that. It's like, I think you're super talented, Josh, but you're going to bang your head against this wall until you can find other people that can do this job better than you. And in all these different departments or areas. So that was a huge learning lesson for me. And I'm thankful that I had someone, willing to tell me the brutal truth that early on, so that we could enable some of the success and growth we've had over the past 8 years.
We all need people like that in our lives, Josh, that say, hey, your tires are flat, or they're going flat, and you're in the car driving thinking it's all right. Right. And it's so
amen to that.
We all need that. And I want to tell people, one of the things about in donating, and I've learned this, donating time and money, is it really plays into the universal law of kind of reciprocation, the law of cause and effect, right? So we all have a little bit of time, we all have a little bit of money, and it creates abundance in our own life. We create space in our own life. So I don't want to get all metaphysical here on people, but the reality is it does. From my perspective, it always has. When you do something nice, somewhere, somehow, that's coming back. It's that boomerang effect, right? So I think that's one of the big reasons that a company like yours does well, because people are donating their time for that, and they get way back more than they're actually giving in most cases. And even if they don't care, because they feel that's what's happening to them. And so I would challenge all companies out there who are listening to this and listening to your story, go find a mission and support it. And, as you said, Alaska Airlines is able to use it, right? So use it, there's nothing wrong with profiting off your mission. And it's just kind of the way things work. So go find a mission.
Yeah.
So,
I would agree with you 100%. I would also say, especially for the CEOs out there, I mentioned the coaching opportunities, and there's lots of different nonprofits that specifically offer that value for someone to use their particular expertise to do a project or to consult or coach with a nonprofit. But the other thing I would, if they're not on a board of directors for a nonprofit about something that either relates to their business or something they're personally passionate about, I would encourage them to get involved there. Like you said, you get way more back than what you're giving. But the other neat thing to see is, if you can enable another leader in a nonprofit sector, even if you're serving in a for-profit sector, in something that you're interested in or passionate about or relates to your business, equipping them to carry out that mission, I would challenge, is way more gratifying than even seeing your own company, knock it out of the park and your bottom line increased. It's a different, it taps, to your point, a different part of you that is, kind of more heart emotionally aligned, that we all need. And so I would encourage folks to find those opportunities too.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's much more gratifying to see a child or your child catch the winning touchdown or hit the home run, or, whatever sport analogy you want to take, boy, girl, or other, it's much more gratifying as a parent to see that happen. And it's much more gratifying as a business owner to see the impact that we've created.
Yeah, absolutely.
Josh, thanks for being here on the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. I really appreciate you being here. Awesome message. Folks, I can't say enough. Check it out at angelflightwest.org.
Thanks for the opportunity, Doug. Thanks for your heart, and appreciate what you're doing to help all of us lead better.
Thanks, Josh. All right. Well, what did you learn? I learned a few things. Let me give you what I've learned. Mission-driven impact in business results in more sales. Now, I conceptually knew that, but it hit me when I was talking about the Alaska Airlines thing, right? Because I literally been looking at another credit card for the company, and I'm like, oh, we need another business credit card. So I want an airline card, for my own reasons. And the reality is, it's like, as soon as he started saying Alaska Airlines is supporting our company, yeah, in my head, it went, okay, that's my credit card company. That's the credit card that I'm going for. They're not the company that has a credit card, but it's branded, right? Alaska Airlines. So why not use mission-driven impact in your business? It increases sales. Why? It increases value. Why? People want to help people. Most people in the world want to help people. And when we can do that, and you can make it almost effortless for your buyers to actually buy into the concept of the mission-driven impact, it increases their value perception and makes them feel better. And who doesn't want to do business with somebody when they're feeling good about doing business with that particular person? In this case, you, right? So consider a mission-driven impact in your business. If you don't have one, go to angelflightwest.org. Contact Josh. I'm sure that he would love your help. And the other thing is, remember, prospecting. Just because it's a nonprofit organization, they also understand the value in prospecting, continuous prospecting. If you're not doing continuous prospecting in your business, you will see up and down sales cycles. You will see up and down revenue. You will see profitability kind of at times, because you'll have more expense during that quarter or that period of time, which is the dry time, the down time. Like if you look at it as an up and down, the down will be the dry time, and you'll be looking at things going, hey, our expenses are still high, but we don't have the revenue coming in, so therefore our profitability will be low. So if you loved this concept, let us know. You can let us know by sending in a message to YouMatter, YOUMATTER, at ceosalesstrategies.com, because you do matter to us. If you want to give this a 5-star review, we would love it. If you want to tell friends about this episode or any other episode, again, we would love it. And one other thing I wanted to bring up, you could see in the middle of the podcast, I made a mistake, right? I just fumbled on angel, the word angel. It's a second grade word, third grade word. Hey, we all make mistakes. Here's the thing. When you make a mistake, don't worry about sanitize it. Be yourself. When you're conveying value to another person, be yourself. They're going to appreciate that far more. More authentic you is more authentic buying, really, when it comes down to it. Buyers do appreciate the fact that you're a human being. You don't have to be perfect. So with that being said, go out and sell something today. Sell a lot of it. Play win-win. They win, you win, right? That is giving them ultimate value for your ultimate ask. And when those two line up, man, you got a match. If you have a subject matter that you feel is great for this show, please reach out to us. I know we're getting a lot of people reaching out, and really appreciate you doing so. Just send an email to YouMatter, YOUMATTER, at ceosalesstrategies.com. If you or yourself want to be in the top 1% of earners through selling, reach out to me directly at doug@ceosalesstrategies.com, and let's have a conversation on and about that. Once again, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast, signing off and saying to your success.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. What is something that you learned that you could act on today? Don't forget to schedule it now, or it may never get forward momentum. If you find our content valuable, please leave a favorable review and let us know what you liked. Please also share this with others if the content will help them. For our show notes, other episodes, and more interesting content and resources, please visit ceosalesstrategiespodcast.com. See you soon, and to your continued success.